Hey everybody, and welcome to part 2 of my PlayStation 3 video game collection video. So if you haven't seen part 1, I recommend that you go see that. If you don't want to see part 1, well, here are the games that I have from that. But honestly guys, I highly recommend you go watch part 1 anyways, since I briefly do talk about each game. But without further ado, let's actually start up this video. So the first game first game in the stack that I want to show off is White Knight Chronicles 2. I remember picking this up simply because it also contained a bonus game on the disc as well. So you can see in the top left corner here, it says bonus game includes the fully remastered White Knight Chronicles. So yeah, in addition to getting the sequel game, you get a remastered version of the first game. If this sounds familiar, then yeah, they did something similar with Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, sorry, where they gave you miles. Where if you bought the higher tier edition of the game, they gave you a remastered version of the first game, and this is similar to that, except this time around, they actually included on the disc and not a download code. Thank goodness. But unlike Spider-Man, the first White Knight Chronicles was already released on PS3, so basically they remastered it, as they say, on the same system. I don't know to what extent that remastering effort went, but hey, you got two games in one, so that's really neat. I haven't actually touched this game, honestly, and yeah, apparently it's done by level 5, which is interesting. I don't know if this game did all that well. I mean, obviously it hasn't had a third game, so clearly it didn't do well enough. But yeah, White Knight Chronicles 2 plus the first game. If you encounter, so I suppose if you ever encountered this, just know that you're getting both games in one package, which is really neat. Now, next up we have, okay, so obviously this is not the original case, but we have Batman Arkham Asylum Game of the Year Edition. According to Game Informer, this is the best Batman game ever made. Well, it certainly was back in 2009, that's for sure. I would argue that some of its sequels are better, but anyways, it's still a really good game, and I highly recommend it. But yeah, and honestly, guys, like any version of Batman, assuming it's the Game of the Year edition or like the most, like in the case of Arkham Asylum or Arkham City, or yeah, just about any version of the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, I'd recommend getting. Even the Wii U edition of the game, which I heard wasn't all that, had some frame rate issues, I'd still recommend it just because it has some exclusive content as well in that version. But actually, no, you know what? No, the only version I don't recommend getting is the Xbox 360 version because for those of you who played the Xbox 360 version, never got the Joker challenge maps, which was PlayStation 3 exclusive, unless I'm mistaken. Unless it is available, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, this was hands down the best Batman game ever released at the time, anyways, and for very good reason. You know, the combat was great, the story was good. There's just so much to like about this. It really does. It's such, you don't have to be. I guess I could say, yeah, it's just a good game. It's just a really good game. And the sequels expand on the formula further as well, which is great. And honestly, guys, you're better off playing this than whatever Rocksteady is making these days. Like, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, I heard was at the very least mediocre, painfully mediocre, which is sad because, they've done much better than that as a company, anyways. Oh, actually, now that I think about it, if you're gonna play this game on, okay, just for the record, guys. So this game was originally released on PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. I don't know if the PC version has the Joker challenge packs. You guys can go look that up. but I know for a fact that the PS4 and Xbox One remaster, Return to Arkham, does on on either versions. And the with that said, the Return to Arkham remaster, um, it's it makes a lot of visual changes, so everything doesn't blend in as well. The environments don't blend it. It looks objectively higher quality, but all the textures don't blend together very well, sadly. So, yeah, I'd say this is a case where I think you're fine playing the original versions. Um, and actually, now that I think about it, the Nintendo Switch version I heard, despite some issues, despite some initial issues on with Arkham Asylum, it's also based on the PS3, Xbox 360, and PC version of the game, which a lot of people prefer. So there's that. Yeah, just don't play Arkham Knight on these on the Switch. I heard that was it's still really bad from what I can tell. Next up, we have Final Fantasy 13-2. I remember hearing about this game um, on a TV show. Yeah, I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called, but it was a TV show that used to air late at night where they would talk about nothing about video games. Nothing. They would talk about every, ev nothing but everything. It was they would they would it was a half an hour segment, like very late at night. Um, that would talk about, like, I think it was EP Daily, can't remember now, but I remember hearing about this game for the first time because of it, and I thought, what kind of name is 13-2? That is like that sounds so weird to me. And of course, I later found out. Of course, I later found out that Final Fantasy games have separate stories, and those within those individual entries, they have direct sequels, and they just didn't want to call it, I guess, Final Fantasy 13 Part 2, I guess, or whatever. The naming convention is weird in general with Final Fantasy games. But yeah, I have the 13-2 here. Although I am aware that the Xbox 360 version is now the better version to play because it runs. You can play it on a Xbox One or Series X console, which and they even went so far as to include the pre like better higher quality cutscenes if you're playing in backwards compatibility mode, which is interesting because before the PlayStation 3 had better looking cutscenes than the Xbox 360, since the Xbox 360 used DVDs as opposed to Blu-rays. But yeah, that's Final Fantasy 13-2. If you watch my previous video on Final Fantasy on Final where I had Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2, you'll know that I haven't actually touched a Final Fantasy game, and I'm hoping to change that eventually. Uh, sorry, touched or completed a Final Fantasy game. I haven't completed a single one, and hopefully I want to change that eventually, but who knows? These games obviously are very long, so that's not something that I may get into for a while. Next up, we have a couple of sports games. Nothing really much to talk about here. They're just sports games. I actually had a copy of FIFA 14 before, a European copy, I should say, of FIFA 14, which I have since sold. In regards to NHL, there's also a playable demo included of NHL Arcade. I think one of the NHL games actually includes the full NHL Arcade title, but I can't remember which one that was. Yeah, so here's the game. Yeah, not much to really. There's not much to say about this aside from the fact that I think this is the last time that EA had some. Actually, no, not EA. Yeah. This is the last time that EA had like serious competition because after NHL 2K11, that franchise got discontinued, and it was just EA making the hockey games. And and of course FIFA, like this was well before they decided to change their name to EA Sports FC Club, which interestingly enough has not been detrimental to the franchise success. It's still selling really, really well, despite getting rid of the FIFA name. And the only reason the reason they got rid of the FIFA name was simply because they just didn't want to pay $1 billion just to have it anymore. So, yeah. Next up, we have Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch for PlayStation 3. Now, what's interesting about this is that I think, yeah, this was originally a Nintendo DS game, I believe, that got ported to other platforms, including the PlayStation 3, and it even got a remastered on PS4. Funny enough, I think, yeah, so the PS4 version and Switch version came out around the same time, but the PS4 version has the subtitle remastered on it, whereas the Switch version does not, and that's because the Switch version runs at the same resolution and frame rate, I believe, as the PS3 version, I think. I don't know, but I do know that the Switch and PS4 version have content parity. I can't remember if this game had DLC or not. Maybe it does. I'm not too sure, but I heard this is a really good game. That actually got a sequel like a decade later, which is neat. Next up, we have, okay, this one's becoming, I think this one's hard to get now. BlazBlue Calamity Trigger. This is the first entry in the BlazBlue franchise that's still ongoing to this day. I actually watched the anime for this, which I kind of regret doing now because I got a heavily abridged version of the first two game story, which looking back was not that great, was not presented well in the anime. And I basically spoiled a lot of stuff for myself too, which sucks. But yeah, here's the first game in this franchise, which, and interestingly enough, by the time I believe it is, I think it was like the fourth or fifth entry, Central Fiction that came out very late in the PS3's life cycle. That was the only game where they did not do an English dub. This game actually has has English voice acting, except, but by the time we got to the fourth or fifth game, they kind of just gave up on that, which is unfortunate. But yeah, this game franchise started back in 2009, and it's still ongoing to this day with all sorts of remasters, sequels, and so on and so forth. I don't know if I'm not sure if I'm ever gonna like get back to this. Fighting games admittedly have not been my forte outside of Smash Brothers. So yeah, really, I just got this because it looked cool, and and also I had the hindsight to know that this was probably going to be hard to get at some point. Next up, we have Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. Now, I'm going to be honest, when it comes to Borderlands, I've yet to actually finish a single game. Like, seriously, I've tried multiple times to get into the game, and I always give up partway through. Yeah, so, and really, looking back, I think buying the PS3 version was completely unnecessary. Like, I guess, yeah, because I got the Switch version as is, like which comes with all the DLC and stuff. I own this game on like multiple consoles. I have it on 360. I have it on PS3 here, which is also the Game of the Year edition. I have it on Switch, and yet I've yet to actually finish the game. I guess the one good thing about having the PS3 version is that it actually comes with a map, which is nice. Switch version unfortunately does not, sadly. Oh yeah, you also have this access code for Duke Nukem Forever. But honestly, guys, I heard that game's really, who wants this? I don't even know if this code even works. But yeah, that's Borderlands franchise that I've. Oh wow! Oh, that's right. The guy. Oh, that's right. The guy still had his receipt in here. Yeah, some guy bought this back in 2011, in September 13th of 2011, for $42.99. Wow, that's. He even paid the $3 insurance for this. Wow, that is interesting. I got this for $5, by the way. And oh yeah, and you can also, yeah, before I forget, yeah, you can actually uh, transfer your save file from the PS3 to PS4 and Xbox 360 to Xbox One version of the game, which is really nice. They didn't have to do that, but hey, the fact that they did this was really awesome. Next up, we have Dead Space 2 Limited Edition. This one is interesting because, well, for starters, Dead Space, we recently found out, I guess, well, not necessarily, well, we don't have exact confirmation necessarily. It's more like rumors and speculation that Dead Space 2 remake is not happening because the first remake didn't do as well as they were hoping, which is sad. But but in the case of the original Dead Space 2 here, buying the limited edition on PS3 gets you Dead Space Extraction, a on-rail shooter that was originally exclusive on Wii, and I believe it. Yeah, so yeah, Dead Space Extraction I heard was actually good, uh, and it also supports the PlayStation Move. And to have it included on the disc with Dead Space 2 here was really nice, especially since, as I mentioned with White Knight Chronicles 2, that normally doesn't happen anymore. The way it works nowadays, like actually now, yeah, like the way it works nowadays is that you get like one game, you get one game on the cartridge or disc, and then the other games are like on a download code or something like that, which is very much the case with Borderlands on Switch. They don't even have the cartridge anymore. They just give you a code in a box and that's it. So to have, so if you ever find a copy of this, get it, because just so that you can have Extraction. Let's see what else is in here. Oh yeah, I should probably have opened a. Yeah, I probably should have opened some of these cases. Yeah, you got some stuff in here, which is let's see. Yeah, I should have done that from the beginning. I should have opened this stuff up just to show you what's inside, since we generally don't get this have. Okay, yeah, you have a code here for experience more of the Dead Space universe. Oh my God, there's an online. Oh right, there's an online pass for Dead Space 2. Yeah. This was a time when they actually were trying to like sell you an online pass, which is completely bullshit, a load of BS. It's bad enough that you had to pay for like Xbox Live Gold, but now you gotta pay for an online pass. That is terrible. You also have an advertisement for Bulletstorm as well, developed by Epic Games. You know those guys. And of course, you also have an advertisement for Dragon Age 2. But yeah. Let's move on. We have Singularity. This one's published by Activision. Before, of course, they're now seemingly putting all their eggs in one basket with Call of Duty. Uh, and by that I mean they basically took a bunch of developers and just that were making their own original games and then brought them into and basically turned them into a support studio. So this was done by Raven Software, and those guys, of course, recently did the campaign for Black Ops Cold War and a lot of other Call of Duty related stuff. But before that, they did this original game. Funny, yeah, yeah. Now they're owned by Microsoft, which is interesting. So, but I mean, who knows? Maybe now they'll make this game backwards compatible if it isn't already. That it's not impossible, but who knows? Because I think yeah, because this was one of the. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, so this game, I believe it's the one that allows you to go between the past and present or whatever, similar to what Titanfall 2 did in one mission. But this game is centered around that. So yeah, that's neat. If you couldn't tell, I actually printed the box myself. So if it looks a bit odd, yeah, some of these games don't actually have proper box art when I got them, so I actually printed them myself. This one is the original box art though, Dark Void, published by Capcom. I think they shut the servers for this one actually. I can't remember now, or they delisted it. can't remember now, but yeah, this is this was one of Capcom's experimental titles. I guess you could say that this is basically what Anthem. This is like the precursor to Anthem by EA. Okay, there's nothing inside, but yeah, this is just a disc. Yeah, this is like the first like this is like what I guess Anthem tried to be. I'm not too sure on that, but I know for a fact that it does bear similarities. Just because you got a jetpack and you have a big open world, and they both failed. So there's that. Next up, we have Time Crisis 4. I believe this was I believe this actually got an updated version as well, with PlayStation Move support built in. But the version I have here is just the base game. Yeah, this is obviously not the original box art or even the original box, I don't think. And yeah, I don't have much to say because I don't have any experience with the franchise. Next up, we have Grand Theft Auto 5. Hands down one of the most hands down the most hands down the most popular game, one of the most popular games ever released. Period. I interestingly enough, I've yet to actually seriously finish a single Grand Theft Auto game in my life. No, I know that which I know sounds great. It may sound crazy, but I simply just haven't. I just didn't. I mean, I tried the first Grand Theft Auto game I tried was Grand Theft Auto 3 over 10 years ago, and I just couldn't get into it. I was a lot less experienced back then when it came to open world games, and it also didn't help that the game also felt a bit dated as well. And this is one of the games that I've bought, traded, and sold probably one of the most amount of times. Like I bought a copy of this, then traded, then and bought it again, and then traded, and I tried it out on Game Pass for a bit, and now I'm back to owning a PS3 copy. Obviously, I'm probably not gonna play the PS3 copy. I actually got the game for free on the Epic Game Store, but the fact of the matter is, this game had hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars poured into it just to get it running at an acceptable level on PlayStation 3 back in 2013. And there are still things in this game from which the game industry has yet to innovate on. I mean, that's how good the game is. And Grand Theft Auto 6 is finally coming out after nearly 12 years, and hopefully that ends up being good. I'm sure it will be good. It's just fans have had to wait so many years for it, whereas during the PS2 generation we got like 3 games in the span of like 3 years. That is unheard of now, almost unheard of now, unless you're Call of Duty or a sports game. Okay, next up. Oh yeah, before I forget, yeah, they shut down the online service for this. So unfortunately, the campaign is basically the only reason you'd ever want to have the PS3 or Xbox 360 version now. Unfortunately, it's also become a bit of a joke that this game keeps getting that's a lot of people are kind of just sick of this, because this game by this point, just because it keeps getting re-releases on newer platforms, except Nintendo for some reason, and of course they keep relying on the shark cards or in-game microtransactions to make money. So yeah, that's partly the reason why it took so long to make Grand Theft Auto 6. All right, next up we have Dead Island Game of the Year Edition. Now this was published by Deep Silver and developed by Techlands, the same people who recently did the Dying Light franchise. Yeah, interestingly enough, they worked on the first Dead Island game, but then went on to do another zombie title that had nothing to do with Dead Island. Dead Island. And what ended up happening was the sequel kind of went into development hell for quite a while before finally making it out. I coincidentally around the same time as Dying Light 2. Now I'm probably not going to play this because this along with several of the games I've already shown off have been remastered. So really this has just been sitting in my collection for the last little while. The only, I guess, the good thing about it is that it's the Game of the Year edition, so it has all the DLC on it. So if I ever decide to play it, I'm not missing out, aside from visual fidelity. Hopefully, anyways. But yeah, Dead Island. Um, I hear there was a sequel game, I believe, that uh, called Escape Dead Island, which was really bad from what I heard. But so I guess avoid that. Okay. Next up, we have The Last of Us. Yeah, I have yet to actually play this game. I have yet to touch a game in this franchise, period. Which is, yeah, I just haven't. I simply just haven't done it. And right now, I'm not even sure what I should play because, yes, I could just pop this into my PS3 right now, but obviously, this game um, has also been released on PS4, so it looks and runs better. But then there's also the PS5 version as well, which also looks and runs better. And a lot of people complain about that because obviously they felt that the PS5 remake was a bit unnecessary, especially since they could have dedicated that effort to making a brand new game. Um, but yeah, uh, that said, uh, this was like their Naughty Dog's first game after doing the Uncharted trilogy, and this is a game that was highly critically it was received universal acclaim back when it first released, and it had a TV show that aired last year, uh, which I which I heard was actually really good. I haven't watched it yet, but I heard it's really good. And the game, of course, got a sequel like many years later, which I heard was a bit divisive. It's been meme. I've seen the memes about it, and and yeah, I'll probably get to it at some point. I just have so. If you couldn't already tell, I have so many games to get through. Next up is a game that I played quite a number of times, actually. Batman Arkham Origins on PlayStation 3. I played this twice. I think I played. So, no. I played when it comes to the Batman Arkham games, I played each game, uh, the PlayStation 3 games, anyways. Sorry, the 7th gen era titles at least twice each. So I played Arkham Asylum at least twice, Arkham City at least twice, and Arkham Origins at least twice. Or actually, no. In the case of Arkham Origins, I actually played this 4 times actually. I think once on PlayStation 3, twice on Xbox 360, and then and then recently again this past fall on PC. It was also the first time I tried out the Cold Heart DLC as well, which was fine, I guess. Arkham Origins itself, it's considered the black sheep of the series, but honestly, it's a pretty good game in its own right. It's a good game. Um, it's but compared to the other titles, yeah, it does. It feels like a less bit. It feels like I'm playing an expansion of to Arkham City. It or a little. Sorry, I more specifically, it feels like a slightly lifeless Arkham City, just because um, it feels like it feels very It feels like a cookie cutter sort of. It feels like it was made in. It has this sort of cookie cutter design philosophy around it, and it definitely shows because there's just like there's just long stretches where nothing happens. Did I also mention the technical issues? As there are technical issues that have yet to be ironed out even after all these years. Um, yeah, so this was obviously done. For those of you who somehow don't know, this was a stopgap title because they wanted something to release in 2013 because they knew that they didn't want people waiting too long, so they just made this. They had Warner Brothers Montreal make this. Same guys who recently did Gotham Knights, which was not all that well received, sadly. And while we're on the topic of Gotham Knights, I would say that Gotham Knights is more of a successor to Arkham Origins than it is to Arkham Knight. At least based on what I can tell anyways. But yeah, I'd still recommend playing this game, although I think the PlayStation 3 version is the most content content complete because it has like some exclusive DLC here that you cannot get in any other version. But if you don't care about that, you can probably just stick to the PC version. Next up, and I think I'm gonna end. Yeah, after this one, I'm gonna end the video right here because it's going on for. We're already been at this for about half an hour. Medal of Honor. This is, I believe, a remake, a reboot. Sorry, of the franchise. This is their attempt at cashing in on the Call of Duty phrase by giving a World War II shooter a modern day, by taking that modern World War II shooter and bringing it to the modern day like Call of Duty 4 did, but it just wasn't as successful, unfortunately. Yeah, it also had, like Dead Space 2, they also tried to do the online pass thing, which rubbed people the wrong way as well. With really, that was, thank goodness we don't have that no more. But yeah, I don't have much to say about this because I've actually yet to touch Medal of Honor. I actually tried Medal of Honor Frontlines, which is included, which is really neat, but I couldn't get into it because it was a bit too dated for my liking at the time. And thankfully it is much like Dead Space 2, it is included on the disc as well. You just have to have the Medal of Honor disc inserted when you want to play Frontline. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. Before I forget, let's actually, so let's quickly, so you have, so you have the, I got lucky with the, before I forget, I got lucky with this. This code actually still works. So I got the Deathstroke DLC. I think there's also, you also have this code as well for the classic Tim Drake Robin skin for the multiplayer, which, let's be honest, was very unnecessary. A lot of people agree it was unnecessary. I don't think you can actually still play the multiplayer mode. It's just that there's hardly any people online, but two, in order to actually get the online multiplayer to work, you have to sit in the lobby for like half an hour. There's a certain trick to it, but you can actually get it to work, and yeah. And also, Last of Us. Oh yeah, I believe Last of Us also did the online pass thing as well. Not a, thankfully, thankfully we got rid of that. But thankfully that's no longer a thing these days. Although you still have to pay for online on consoles. And I actually almost forgot. Yeah, this game, the PS3 version had multiplayer. I think the PS4 and PS5 remaster and remake actually got rid of that, sadly. And oh yeah, Dead Island. Yeah, there's the manual, and that's basically it. Let's see what else I'm forgetting here. Okay, Blaze Blue. Well, that's just the disc. Yeah, I gotta remember to actually. No, I think that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe as always. And I will see you for part 3 because this video has gone on for far too long as it is. So I'll see you next time. Thank you and good night.